that these are complex geometric designs that would have taken people weeks to map out. And there's no footprints leading up to it. There's no roads, no machinery.
Long before artificial intelligence and quantum computing entered the conversation, another mystery had already been capturing imaginations across the world: crop circles. Their strange geometry, sudden appearances, and seemingly unexplainable origins made them one of the most enduring enigmas of modern folklore. To understand why the latest discussions around technology and analysis feel so unusual, we need to look back at how crop circles rose from local curiosities to a global cultural phenomenon, and why they remain so compelling today. A crop circle is not simply a patch of flattened crops. At its essence, it is a deliberate pattern pressed into a field of wheat, barley, or another cereal grain, wide enough to be seen clearly from above, yet sharp enough to shock and mesmerize those who stumble upon it at ground level. In their earliest days, these shapes were simple, single circles stamped into the fields. But over time, they evolved into elaborate designs marked by symmetry, scale, and precision. What began as basic outlines soon grew into intricate formations spanning entire fields, leaving observers both awed and unsettled. Scientists and journalists often place these phenomena into the category of human-made art or outright hoaxes, and yet the mystery persisted. The question lingered: why were they appearing, and who or what was behind them? As it turned out, the methods were not as otherworldly as many once thought. With little more than wooden planks, ropes, and careful planning, small teams could press down stalks of crops without breaking them, creating smooth, almost sculpted surfaces. These techniques allowed circles to appear overnight, undetected, and they looked far too clean to dismiss as random accidents. Groups of hobbyists and artists began pushing themselves further, experimenting with larger and more complex designs. Each new season became something like an artistic contest, one formation outdoing the last. The fascination reached a turning point in 1991, when two friends from Southampton, Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley, publicly confessed that they had been creating many of the most famous circles dating back to the late 1970s. They demonstrated their methods for reporters, showing just how easily they had carried out their work. Their confession seemed like the final explanation, yet instead of extinguishing the mystery, it fueled it further. If two men could create hundreds of shapes with such simple tools, how many other circle makers might have been operating, and more importantly, how many unexplained circles still remained unaccounted for? From that moment forward, discussions around technique grew more sophisticated. Physicist Richard Taylor suggested that modern circle makers could be using GPS technology to map out precise coordinates, turning fields into canvases of mathematical art. Others speculated that lasers might help survey wide spaces and carve sharp lines. Taylor also referenced experiments with microwaves, which can heat plant stalks until they bend smoothly, then cool into place. Each of these ideas anchored the phenomenon more firmly in the realm of science and human creativity. And yet, the more convincing the human explanation became, the more it seemed to invite questions about just how advanced and creative people could really be. Meanwhile, alternative theories persisted at the edges. Some insisted crop circles were signals from extraterrestrials, an attempt to communicate in symbols rather than words. Others argued they were manifestations of hidden forces of nature, or even spiritual signs inscribed directly into the earth. Such claims gained traction because of the circumstances in which crop circles often appeared, suddenly, overnight, and on a massive scale that made them feel larger than life. Still, scientific studies consistently pointed to human involvement, leaving little evidence to support supernatural explanations. And yet, doubt remained. Mystery, after all, has a way of holding on even when the evidence seems clear. Looking at the story as a whole, the reality becomes clearer. Crop circles are undeniably real, and many are undeniably beautiful. But the weight of evidence points to human ingenuity rather than alien intervention. Over the decades, designs grew more complex as artists innovated, using both simple wooden tools and modern technology. Bauer and Chorley's confession revealed how much could be accomplished with nothing more than rope and planks. Later discussions of GPS, lasers, and microwaves showed how the art could evolve even further. Still, fringe theories have never truly disappeared, feeding into the tension between fact and speculation. That tension is precisely why the fascination continues. If crop circles had only appeared once or twice, they might have been forgotten, but their persistence is what has kept the mystery alive. And nowhere has that persistence been more visible than in the English countryside, especially in Wiltshire. With its rolling fields and ancient landmarks, Wiltshire has long been at the center of crop circle activity. Over the decades, an unusually high concentration of formations has been reported there, attracting researchers, tourists, and skeptics from around the world. Circles have also appeared in the United States, across Europe, and as far away as Australia and Asia. The spread is not random. It follows cultural and geographic hotspots where curiosity already lingers. And so the question remains, why these places and why so often? The evolution of the designs mirrors the growth of an art movement. Early formations were plain, sometimes so simple they could be dismissed as accidents of weather. But as attention grew, so did the ambition of the makers. Spirals, fractals, interlocking shapes, and geometric symmetries began to dominate. Some designs even resembled portraits or coded images, startling in their detail. Each summer raised the bar, turning fields into vast canvases and leaving behind patterns that no farmer could ignore. Where once there had been mystery about the mere presence of a circle, now the complexity of the design sparked awe and suspicion. Confessions and exposures explained many cases, but not all. The majority of circles could be linked back to human hands, circle makers who either admitted their work or were caught in the act. Yet stubborn examples remain, circles that do not neatly fit into the story of art and hoax, and those few unexplained cases continue to fuel controversy. Theories generally fall into three main categories. The first and grounded sees crop circles as art, or at times as elaborate pranks. This perspective points to their timing, often during growing or harvest seasons when visibility is high, as well as to the economic benefits for rural areas that draw visitors, and the pride of artists seeking recognition. The second explanation turns to nature itself, suggesting weather phenomena like whirlwinds or more exotic ideas such as plasma vortexes, swirling fields of charged energy that could imprint patterns onto crops. Yet while this might explain simple shapes, the more elaborate, symmetric designs stretch credibility. The third explanation moves beyond science entirely, pointing to extraterrestrial or paranormal forces. This view has found fertile ground in popular culture, even without any verifiable evidence. The lack of proof does little to slow belief. In fact, the very absence of answers becomes its own form of proof for those inclined to believe.
As the decades passed, technology began to change the investigation. Drones offered sweeping aerial views within hours of discovery. Multispectral cameras scanned fields in wavelengths invisible to the human eye. Teams collected soil and plant samples, searching for biological or chemical changes. Instruments measured electromagnetic activity on site. The results, however, were mixed. Some studies reported odd measurements or unusual plant growth, while other attempts failed to replicate those findings. Groups like the BLT research team claimed evidence of biological anomalies, elongated nodes, altered seed growth, but critics questioned their methods. Attempts at replication often failed. The debate remained unresolved, leaving just enough space for both skeptics and believers to argue their case. And then, another layer was added, the promise of quantum AI. Few words stir more intrigue today than those two: quantum and artificial intelligence. Together, they sound like a tool plucked from the future, capable of solving mysteries that have eluded us for generations. But what does that actually mean? Artificial intelligence, in its familiar form, is software that learns from data. It detects patterns, predicts outcomes, and makes judgments based on examples. From tagging photos to recommending what we should watch, AI functions by recognizing structures within information. Its strength is speed and pattern recognition, but its weakness lies in the data itself. Flawed input produces flawed output. Quantum computing, on the other hand, breaks from classical rules entirely. Instead of bits that exist as either 0 or 1, quantum computers use qubits, which can hold multiple states simultaneously thanks to superposition. Linked qubits through entanglement can explore vast numbers of possibilities at once. The potential is staggering, though practical quantum computers remain fragile and experimental. When the two, AI and quantum, are combined, the dream of quantum AI emerges. The idea is simple to state. Quantum AI could process enormous, complex datasets beyond the capacity of classical systems, peeling back layers of information that usually remain hidden. Applied to medicine, it might model molecules more efficiently, accelerating drug discovery. In cryptography, it might crack codes once considered unbreakable. In finance, it could analyze markets in ways impossible for current systems. But what if such power were directed at crop circles? Could it find hidden codes, mathematical relationships, or signals invisible to the human eye? The prospect is tantalizing. Crop circles are not merely shapes. They carry layers of geometry, symmetry, and tiny imperfections. Standard AI can detect repeating lines and curves, but quantum AI promises to look deeper into frequencies, alignments, and mathematical echoes that might otherwise go unnoticed. If there is a message hidden in the designs, this technology might be the first to detect it. And that possibility raises the most provocative question of all. What if a hidden signal exists, waiting to be revealed?
For now, quantum AI remains mostly theoretical. Most real progress occurs in laboratories, not in the fields of Wiltshire. But speculation runs far ahead of reality, and with speculation comes the irresistible drama of possibility. Imagine, for a moment, if a crop circle turned out to encode a star chart, a mathematical constant, or even a sequence resembling a form of communication. Would it prove human ingenuity or something far stranger? Mathematics already shapes nature in familiar ways: the spirals of shells, the symmetry of flowers, the ratios of planetary orbits. Could crop circles be part of the same language, deliberate or not? Some believe subtle alignments around numbers like pi or the golden ratio might suggest deeper meaning. Others argue it is the human mind projecting intention where there is none. The debate, once again, lies in the space between fact and interpretation. Energy and biology add further layers of speculation. Reports of electromagnetic spikes, disrupted devices, and softened stocks appear frequently, though rarely with verifiable proof. Soil samples occasionally show chemical variations that do not match surrounding Earth. If quantum AI could process thousands of such samples across decades, perhaps patterns would emerge, patterns that might point toward natural processes, human tampering, or something else entirely. Even the timing of crop circle formation remains unclear. They seem to appear overnight, yet rarely are they observed being made. Could the careful analysis of satellite data, weather records, and field measurements reveal when and how they truly form? And beyond the science lies the cultural echo. Each new formation lives two lives, one in the field itself and another online. Within hours of discovery, social media buzzes with speculation. Facebook groups share dramatic photographs, Reddit forums dissect geometry, and YouTube channels promise secret codes decoded by AI overlays. On TikTok, videos with sweeping drone shots attract millions of views, each one adding to the folklore. Theories multiply: star maps, prime numbers, hidden languages. Amateur researchers compare soil samples and publish drone footage, sometimes contributing real leads, other times muddying the waters with rumor. The line between science and speculation blurs, but the creativity of these communities ensures the story never fades. In the end, crop circles sit at the intersection of art, science, and mystery. The evidence leans heavily toward human creation, clever artists with rope, planks, and imagination evolving into groups armed with GPS and advanced tools. Yet the allure of the unknown refuses to vanish. Quantum AI represents the latest twist in the story, not because it has solved the mystery, but because it opens new ways to imagine what might still be hidden. Whether it eventually proves the circles to be nothing more than art, or uncovers patterns we never expected, the fascination lies in the search itself. For decades, the fields have whispered questions we have not fully answered. Each circle invites us closer, asking us to wonder whether meaning lies pressed into the crops or whether the true story is about human creativity and belief. Technology may one day bring clearer answers, but until then, the fields remain a canvas of mystery, speculation, and possibility, a stage where science, imagination, and curiosity continue their dance.